Good evening, dear students. This is Mr. Abdurrahman again with another video session regarding the business studies subject that is designated for the IGCSE level. Today's topic or today's chapter is talking about the concept of the decision making about the manufacturing or the business location. In this first part of the video or of this chapter, we will talk about if the consumption or that the business is a manufacturing business actually. I'm gonna do some notes about this. If it's a manufacturing business, things to keep in mind before talking about the factors that is uh, affecting the decision or the location decision if the business owner is running a manufacturing style. Uh, Location of any business, guys, must be considered in one of two cases. If business is starting up or uh, changing due to unsatisfactory. This is the first point that I need to talk about. If any business they needed to change their location, it could be one of two things. One, it could be that due to the fact that this business is just starting up and they need to make a decision about the location and thinking about where to locate, or it could be due to the fact that they are in a bad location due to a variety of reasons. Another thing, guys, one of the things why all this is like answering the concept of why this should happen to any business. The fact is that uh, the objectives of any business keep changing all the time. You cannot say that the business or the environment of a business. So, business objectives or environment keeps changing. This is why business owners keep thinking about changing the location or deciding a new idea about the business location. So, uh, after that, we talk about the idea why they are considering that because gain more profit. One of the things or the main ideas of changing the location of any business is to try to gain more profit. If they change to a better, maybe to be more suitable for their customers or things like that. Uh, Another thing I need to add to this is that most most of businesses or most of large businesses go abroad. What does that mean? It means that they consider going selling outside of uh, the beyond sorry beyond local market. This is something happens due to the expansion of the business, and most of the time, large companies will decide to do that by going outside. If they do that, if they want to go abroad, I keep, they need to make a decision about things like uh, which country to locate, which country to locate, for an example. And most of the companies will do that, as I said, to gain more profit, going beyond the boundaries or the geographical boundary of the initial premises of the business. First factor that might affect the decision regarding location would be the production method. production method is the first factor that might affect the decision about the location. How the production method is affecting in such way. First of all, let's say uh, that you are a manufacturing business and you are following a job production style. Why you are following the job production from our previous study? Job production is more suitable for small scale businesses. They're producing in few or in small quantities, okay, and they do not care about the idea of becoming near of their suppliers or the components, different components of a production process suppliers, and this would be less important. So write a few notes about this factor. Small scale businesses find it less is important to stay near different component suppliers. Why is that? Because they are small, basically. It's not that big deal that if they don't locate that near from these suppliers. Uh, as I said, in this case, these small businesses, they providing, for example, following a job production method. In other cases, if it's large scale, in that case, they will follow some production methods like from our study, flow production. It's very important that they stay near the suppliers of the different components because they produce in a huge quantity, and the distance or the time spent to reach these components to reach the factory is very important. If large scale, as I said, like flow production, needed to be near suppliers. This is another fact regarding this point. Why this is considered, guys? Because, as I said, the transportation cost high. That's why avoiding that, because uh, for a huge business, it's a consideration. But if you are running a small business, you can say it's not going to be very, it will not scale, the cost will not scale very high. This is about the first factor, which is considered as the production method. Let's talk about the another factor. I'm going to take the slide here. Let's talk about another factor. Let's talk about the factor of market itself. Market. I'm going to talk about market here as a second factor affecting the decision regarding location. Let's say that you are selling or locating your factory near of the market. Okay, near of the market. We're talking about near of your customers. This is considered an important idea. Why is that? Imagine with me that you are producing a heavy product with a weight issue. We would say that it's a gained weight product. In that case, you should consider that for businesses producing uh, a gained weight product, it is important because, as a logical point, you know that heavy products will be more expensive regarding transportation. Cost more for transportation. This is why market considered factor regarding location decision. Uh, Not just that, beside that, also component or raw materials needed for production will be costly too. So it's not just the consumer point, it's just about the idea that even, oh, how do I say it? So that's gonna be very important. Why is that? Because in business need to keep transportation cost cost of product less than transporting raw materials for the business. This is a concept need to be done. There is no point or there is no profit if you transporting your product is going to be more expensive than the raw materials transportation. Imagine with me that you're running, as I said, any kind of product. You're producing any kind of product, and this product, for an example, let's say that's some kind of, I don't know, milk or drink. Uh, Transporting the empty bottles as raw material always should be more than the, or should be lighter, okay, than filled bottle. So if these bottles of the drink will be filled, they should be to keep the cost of transporting these uh, filled bottles with drink. uh, the business owner should consider staying near the market. That's why it's a factor. The transportation cost always should be, as I said, less than the raw materials. This is a fact. Business need to keeping the transportation cost of product less than raw materials. Another factor about why it's a good decision to stay near the market for a large business or for manufacturer businesses is that the fact that um, also another thing. Let's say that you are producing perishable product. Example for that, milk. You cannot afford to stay away from the market because this product can be damaged during a long distance to the market. So producing perishable product is considering the idea of staying near the market. That's why the market is a factor. This is another point of view about. It's not just about the heavyweight. It's also about the producing or the if you have a product that is purchased very quickly. Um, Not to mention on this point, even with that, we're discussing staying near the market. There is the modern uh, economy um, have uh, I'm gonna talk about the another concept here. Market factor uh, can become less important due to im- improved or improved transportation systems. Also, the existence of preserving uh, preserving food methods So even with the fact that the market is considered a factor that is affecting any business or manufacturer business, I just need to mention to you that the market factor can become less important due to the modern ways of transportation because they are improved and somehow they are becoming less costly, and also the existence of preserving food methods like because they can last longer. Now, it's not that important to stay of the near of the market. It's not an issue if you are transporting the perishable product will take long to reach the market. So this is about the second, as I said, this is the second factor, which is the market. Let's jump to the third factor, and we will talk about uh, something. We're gonna talk about the raw materials and the components, how they are affecting the production or the location decision for a business owner. Let's say here, I'm gonna do it here. I'm gonna jump here. Number three, we'll talk about the raw materials or components of making a product, how they are a factor of something. Let's say that you are a manufacturing business, and it's the same point. It's similar here. Point point of gained weight will point of gained weight will appear in this factor appear here as well, because it's very important for the producers to minimize the transportation cost if you are producing a product that needs heavy raw materials. Okay, so the weight is another factor. That's why that's why the raw material is considered a factor. The gained weight of these raw materials, it will be costing more, expensive to expensive, as I said, to expensive transportation. That's why it's considered as a factor. Beside that, guys, sometimes the business need the raw material to be. It's like that. Sometimes a production require processing require processing uh, uh, the, the for example ores. Say that you're producing something that require minerals, processing ores on site. Like you need to take the ores from the mining sites directly, because if the ore or the mineral spend time during the transportation, there is some properties will be changing. So this is another consideration. It's considered as a point of produced waste. Um, Another thing, guys, it's always cheaper to process the ore near the mining because it is also cheaper to process these raw materials on site, because when you transport them, you might add a cost to that rather than processing them uh, in the mining site or the on the original site of extracting these raw materials. Let's say, for example, that there's a particular process that is using very different components, okay, and these different components were coming from different suppliers. So locating near each one of these suppliers is preferred to a business Also, another point, if components provided from different suppliers. Also, another point, it's preferred to stay near the providers of these components rather than staying far of them or staying near one of them only. You need to set your location of your production near from all of them. This an example for that: car manufacturers or car producers, they prefer to stay near of the different because the car production require a lot of components. The car manufacturer, the factories or manufacturers prefer to stay near of to have a fair distance from all the different components suppliers. Uh, as I said, sometimes, as I said, raw materials sometimes require to be as I said, process it quickly. Some because it has a certain chemical structure. It's like to need to be fresh or something like that. So, an example for that, as I said, just raw materials. An example that is frozen vegetables. They need to be processed. Example as frozen. They need to be processed directly instead of spending time during the transportation. So providing these raw materials or components for any business is preferred if they are located near these suppliers. Uh, this is the factor number 3. We talked enough about it. The factor of raw materials and components. I'm gonna jump to another point here. Point number 4. I'm gonna talk about another factor. I'm gonna talk about the some sort of economics of scale. Some sort of economics of scale. The external ones. What do I mean by external? We are referring to the fact that a producer or manufacturer, beside the idea that they need component suppliers to be near of them, also the firms that support the business. Let's say, for example, that you have a big factory with different machines, and you need these machines to have some maintenance in a very quick way when there's something broken. If you don't stay near of these support firms, it will be a bad idea for your production because for a point of, let's say that you have some kind of breakdown, you need a fast response of these firms. So this is what the point talking about. Uh, locate near support firms for business. Another set example for that to respond fast to breakdowns. If a business is far from this sort of supporting firms, it might be a bad idea to decide. So the location is very important to stay near these supportive firms. um, there's another example about it, but I don't want to talk about it. Also, as I said, let's say for example that you have factor number. This is the factor number. This is the factor number 4. Okay, let's talk about another factor, which is labor or availability of labor. We'll talk about another factor. labor availability. This is another factor. Imagine with me that you're making a factory, and at some, I mean, in a logical way, you need some sort of labor to your business, and the nature of the labor will be decided by the nature of your business. For example, let's say that you are looking for skilled labor for your business. So basically, to decide the location in a better way, you need to locate in a place where it's easier and cheaper to recruit these employees. So, location need to set near towns, near areas with skilled workers if needed. Why is that? Because it's cheaper and easier to get. Also, there's another case. Let's say that you are seeking a manufacturing process that require need. This is talking about most of the time skilled workers need to be few. So imagine with me that you need if need large number of non-skilled workers. This is another story. If you are seeking non-skilled workers and in a large number to be supervising a production line, it's logical uh, seeking uh, high unemployment areas is a good idea because these areas will, I mean, to make the business making profit, you need to seek uh, paying low wages since you are seeking unskilled, number one, unskilled workers, and you need them in large quantity. That means that it's important for you as a business owner to seek area where you can pay low wages. To be able to do that, sitting near high unemployment areas is a good decision. Um, will be suitable. This is the concept of availability of labor, how is as a factor is affecting the decision of the location. Because as I said, uh, low wages to pay. Okay, that's why it's a decision. Let's jump to another factor. This is factor number 5, I think. Stopped. This is factor number 5. Right. Yes. Let's jump to another factor. We still have like 3 of them, or actually 4 of them. I know this is a very long topic. That's why I'm dividing it into different parts or different video parts. Let's talk about number 6. Number 6, factor number 6. We will talk now about the government role in this. Government influence in a location decision. Imagine me that you are making a factory in a country where this government is supporting the business owners by encouraging the businesses. Why they encourage businesses? Because they seek increase of employment, so they will provide some kind of flexibility for these owners. So most of the time, government encourage businesses to locate in certain areas. Why is that? To uh, raise, to increase employment. This is one of the reasons why the government seeking such strategy. most of the time they will give money or give some kind of subsidy to support the businesses just to do that. Okay, it might be negative, might be might be negative support by forcing or imposing restrictions beside taxes or whatever it is, restrictions or regulations. We'll say that regulation. Why they're doing that? Because, for example, a business that produce, for example, harmful waste. Any government will stop that from happening by forcing some regulations to prevent that from happening. That's why the government sometimes will not. So the government influence can be positive and can be negative. It depends on the nature of the business. That's why it's considered a factor. So if the business is beneficial for the community, if it's increasing employment, the government will support that. If the business is somehow, you know, like a factory that producing harmful waste that will damage the environment or of the society, the government will decide the opposite by setting some kind of restrictions or regulations to try to minimize that. This is the factor number 6. Let's talk about factor number 7. Number 7. Factor number 7 is the transportation and communication. Why it's a factor? Every business need to be near transport system. This is a fact. Any business whatsoever, they need to set near transportation systems. Why is that? Because enable them to deliver their product, to deliver or to deliver the raw materials or the needed components for the business. So whether it's a road or a railway, bottom, it's always preferred to stay near this, okay? Because it will increase the ability to increases ability to transport from and to the business, whether it's, as I said, it's different in different parts. Also, it's reducing the cost of delivery. The cost of delivery will be reduced because fast motor, fast motorways can be used to deliver a certain component or the product itself. These motorways can be less expensive than the normal transportation methods, so the motorways can be a reason for reducing the cost, which is considered as a good decision to locate near these transportation facilities, especially if the market is in a fast if market is on distance. This is the factor number 7. Okay, let's see our map here. It's getting number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're gonna go to number 8 here. Let's talk about the factor of power supply. Let's talk about the factor of power and supply. This is another factor of any business, power and supply, to decide the location. Um, uh, Power in in modern in modern economies, power is everywhere. Power is everywhere. So not that important factor, but so but some factories they prefer if they have their own power establishment to avoid the power cut situation. So some businesses will prefer having regular, or we say reliable power source because they're producing something require a consistent electricity to avoid power cut issues. That's why it's preferred here. It might be essential for them. Okay. Uh, Sorry. Here is power and water supply. Water supply. Enough talking about power. Let's talk about the water. Why some businesses want to be near water supply. Imagine with me that it's some kind of metal producing factory or manufacturer. They need some kind of cooling, they have cooling purposes for the product, so they might consider to stay near something, near water sources. Businesses that have cooling purposes require to stay near water supply. If it's sea water or even rivers, wherever it is, it depends on the. Might be no different, but it depends on the product itself. It might be affected by the salt water or not. So it's important to stay near water supplies for some businesses, as I said, because these businesses need some kind of cooling system, and that's why it's considered as a factor. This is factor number 8, guys. The last factor that I'm going to mention is here is the climate. This is the last factor that is affecting a manufacturing business regarding the location. I know it's a long topic, but this is what we can do. I'm trying to split it into several videos. This is a video number 1 regarding the location decision. And the last we're going to talk about it is the climate factor. How the climate is affecting or influencing the business. Let's say that you're running a business or a manufacturing business, and this business, for an example, is producing something that will be affected with weather. Okay, so that's why the climate is considering that as example for that. Silicon Valley in America is an area in US. Benefit of areas dry weather or dry climate to produce silicon chips, because these making these silicon chips is affected by weather, and it's important to manufacture and produce these in a very dry weather or dry climate area. So this is all about the topic of this session or this video, guys. We're just gonna do a quick summarizing for it. So as I said, any decision making regarding the manufacturing business, this part 1, is in the need of, it will be affected by many factors. Number 1, it depends on the production method. This is a factor 1. How are you producing your product? Number 2, the nature of the market. What is the customer or the market of your customers? Is it is it a market? The market is it some consumers, some perishable product or whatever it is? It's affected by the distance, to put it shortly. And number three, factor number three is the raw materials and the components. It's very important for some businesses to stay near the extraction point of these components or minerals because they need them to be like dealt with inside, or it could be because of the weight issues. Number four, the external economies of scale, and like I said, external economies of scale. Example for that, uh, the idea of uh, staying near the support firms of your business. It's like that maintenance firms that you need them for any kind of possibility of breakdown. Number five is the factor of labor ability. You need to set your location sometimes. Why it's a factor? Because you need to set the location of business where the labor is available. If there is no labor available, most of the time you're not going to be able to start your production process. Also, we talked about the sixth factor, which is the government rule, how the government is influencing the decision or location decision. Sometimes you need to locate it in a country with flexibility regarding taxes, whatever it is. So it depends. That's why it's a factor. The government is a factor. Last, the point before the last is transportation and the communication. We said that transportation and communication is affecting the decision of the location because it's depending on the distance. If you are sitting your business very far, it might be bad. If it's so, this is something need to be considered also, transportation and communication. The number eight, as I said, the power and the water supply as a factor. It's a factor that might be affecting the location decision because you need, for example, you need water for cooling uh, purpose, or you need power, steady power, because you consume so much electricity in producing something. That's why it's important to sit near or to sit near of power solutions or steady power solutions beside water supplies. Last point here is mentioned is the climate. Sometimes some production or some products need to be produced in a area with a specific climate. That's why it's important to set all of these concepts. This is about our topic for today. As I said in this session, sorry, there's more topics to discuss today. It's about manufacturing businesses. There's like nine factors. We talked about the nine factors and why it's important. What is these considerations regarding any manufacturing business? So this is our end for this discussion. I want to thank you for watching this video and see you in another sessions inshallah.